A while back, I made this video about the top 5 teams that you should rebuild in Dynasty coming up in EA Sports College Football 25. Well, I wanted to revisit that video and kind of go over something else, which is finally my decision on what team I'm going to start Dynasty with. Now, the game has only been out for 1 or 2 weeks by now, and most people have already gotten their hands on Dynasty or on Road to Glory or anything even Ultimate Team, but me, I'm still here without a way to connect my face cam to my Xbox, so I'm waiting until I get another HDMI and USB so I can plug my capture card in, and that way y'all can see my face on stream, and that way it makes the videos a little bit better for when I start my Dynasty. Now, my first Dynasty I'm going to be starting as a 1-star offensive coordinator, and the reason why is because I don't really like to play defense. I've done it before, but I feel like defensive coordinator is just so much more boring, and even then, if you figure out how to play defense, you could just run cheese plays and kind of manipulate the system in order to just win the game. I feel like it's a lot harder to come back and score every single week as opposed to just stopping the other team from scoring, which you kind of have a little bit more control over, in my opinion. Now, this is not the team that I really want to rebuild into a powerhouse as a head coach. I've already made that video, and that is going to be Indiana. I've already talked about that because I want to bring Indiana back to the top where they never were. Indiana is one of the 3 Power 5 teams that have never won 10 games in a season, which is still crazy to me, which is why they're my choice on my first ever Dynasty. Now, like I said, the point of today is to discuss who my first Dynasty is going to be and why I chose this team. As you know, there are 11 teams that are 1-star programs in College Football 25, and I'm going to make a video on that coming up in a couple days on who the best and the worst teams are to rebuild from that 1-star list, and maybe I'll go through the stars of that video as well. Now, I wanted to go to the absolute worst, lowest team that you could in College Football 25, and the 2 options were Ball State and Kennesaw State. Now, I feel like I've seen a lot of Kennesaw State usage as everyone thinks that they're like the worst team in the game, which, hey, fairly so. I don't even know what state Kennesaw State is in. If I were to guess, Kentucky? Not sure. Somewhere in the MAC maybe area, or maybe it's even in like the South. I don't even know. Let me know, because I actually have no clue where Kennesaw State is. I'll probably Google it right after this. So for that reason, yes, I'm officially going with Ball State as my first ever Dynasty. Ball State is getting me, Camden Mowry, to be their offensive coordinator, and we're locking into a couple-year contract. Now, moving forward, the plan I have with this is to make a bunch of posts on me using this team and try to get a little bit of traction within the team, and maybe even get some replies from people about me using them in the game. I remember seeing a couple years back, right after COVID, where a guy was using Marshall in the Dynasty, and he even had some of the people responding to him, like when he was using them in the game. Now, one thing I'm probably not going to be doing, there was a guy that was taking over a team that I forget, and he was acting as if he was the coach, and I think the coach even got mad at him for doing that, because he was like, hey, don't use my name and do this. And that moves right into one of the most exciting things I want to announce, is that after each Ball State game, I'm going to be trying to dress up in a blazer and whatnot, and giving like a 5-minute review of the game we just played. So you're basically going to see an in-depth breakdown from the Dynasty game, as if I was like just a normal podcast guy, which I kind of am, which I think is a super cool aspect to see on it. I don't see a lot of people doing that. Can you imagine someone sitting there breaking down a Ball State video game that they just played against whoever else in the MAC? Let's say we're playing against Western Kentucky and we lose by 14. Here I am coming up on the stage and I got to answer questions like a press conference. I think that's a super interesting angle, and I can't wait to see how that goes. Now, Ball State, the one thing that I looked through their roster, it is literally identical to Kennesaw State with ratings. I think it's a 71 offense, 73 defense. I could be mistaken, but they're basically identical through the board on overalls. The most interesting thing I saw is that 3 of the top 7 players from Ball State are actually in the quarterback position, one of them being a freshman. So we're going to have to decide in the first year who we want to start at quarterback, if we want to start the proven upperclassmen or if we want to go start with the freshmen. The reason I'm making all this is because I think a big reason that people love to see College Football 25 gameplay is because of the immersion. So why not get all in? Why not pretend like I'm actually the offensive coordinator of Ball State? And if you think that's cringe, maybe this isn't for you. But I do fully plan on streaming every single game and every single moment of me on that Dynasty. And the next most fun thing I have to announce is that if you do watch those streams live, you're able to make this Dynasty harder for me. I've made channel points a thing, and if we can reboot that stream a little bit, you're going to be able to make me either punt on a drive, not even play the drive, sim an entire game, not recruit for a week, play blindfolded for a play, anything on there, and hopefully I can add more over time to make the Dynasty just that much more challenging. Now, some people are going to be asking, what are the rules of this Dynasty? I have 2 main rules that I have in place. The first one, this is the most fun for me, is that I don't get to play the first half of any of these games. Now, if you're wondering, why would you limit yourself to that? I think the most fun experience that people can have, at least for me specifically, is that comeback, roaring back in the second half, trying to make a great comeback when you're a low team on the road against a better team. That's one of the most fun situations that really gets my heart going. I see the second half being the most fun half, and maybe I'll play some full games in the future, but for now, I want to start out by only playing the second half of each game. That'll create closer scores, closer games, more interesting content, and hopefully more fun for me and more fun for you. Now, the second rule I have, and this is also something I was doing on NCAA 14, is that I can only recruit people that are in the top 10 of interest on recruiting. So that means anybody not top 10 interested in me at the start of the season, and being Ball State a 1-star program is going to be extremely tough, I cannot touch. Now, other than that, I am probably going to start on freshman difficulty just to say I'm not like a great gamer by any chance. I'm here to make good content and hopefully good storytelling as well. So as I get more comfortable in the game, I am going to up the difficulty to varsity and maybe even All-American, but I've heard how it's been kicking people's butt, and as of right now, I just want a good experience to make good content. 10. So with that being said, yes, Ball State is going to be the first ever Dynasty. I think I covered everything, being that there will be a 5-minute at 5 podcast that's going to be like a Ball State review. That's what I wanted to call it, like the Cardinal 5 at 5 or something like that. We'll see how that goes. I don't have any Ball State clothes, so you'll probably just see me dressed up in something nice, and that way I can go through the game we just played. Second being those channel points on Twitch to make the Dynasty harder for me. You literally have the ability to go watch Twitch and see if I'm playing a game, and to use your channel points. They're not too bad. I think on average, if you accumulate over 1 or 2 hours on Twitch of watching, which is going to happen over time if you're just sitting there, you're able to make this Dynasty way more challenging than it already will be with Ball State. And the third thing, again, being those 2 rules that I have, being that I can't play the first half of games, only the second half, and that I can't recruit anybody outside of the top 10 interested in me. If you have any other cool rules or regulations that I should add, let me know down below, because I want to make this the best content for you and I to experience together. But with that being said, that's all I got for now. Make sure y'all have a great day, and peace.